In this example, the large language model is prompted and initiates an action. The action has a type, search, and has an input, which is the query that gets passed along to the search API. As a result of this, it gets an observation, and this is information that's passed back as an additional query context to the large language model from the search API. Now, this next piece tends to be labeled as a thought, but I'll remind you, large language models do not have thoughts in the way that we traditionally talk about other people having thoughts. It's a convenient term in the sense that the large language model is writing to scratch space in order to generate an intermediate step, and it's not expressing that scratch space back to you necessarily. At any rate, once this pattern is set of action, observation, thought, you can see that we can have additional iterations in a loop. Again, while the large language model reasons, if you will, or tries to find an acceptable answer, this is only an approximation of reasoning. It's done through math, but it's able to do a tremendously interesting thing. It can not only come to an approximately correct conclusion, but it can show the intermediate steps that it used to reach that conclusion. And so if we're working with LangChain, we can pull out those intermediate steps and examine them and decide whether we would come to the same conclusions based on a chain of reasoning. Again, how can I trust you? Even if we're not entirely confident in the large language model's predictions, we can go and check its work. We can reason about how it came to those conclusions, and we can draw our own conclusions. Earlier, we referred to these large language models acting with tools as agents. Agent is a term that refers to the thing that acts, and what's fundamentally different about an agent operating with a large language model powering its backend and something like ChatGPT-3 is that ChatGPT-3 cannot act in meaningful ways. It can't originate a search. It can't do an arbitrary query against a web service. It can't look up the weather or check Wikipedia. Once we provide the large language model with a Python REPL or the Google API, we're allowing it to act on our behalf. And as a result, we have a duty to understand the consequences of that delegated authority. That is, what can happen, and importantly, what will happen if the large language model acts in a way that's not consistent with our expectations. This has always been the case when working with machine learning models, that it's incumbent upon us as developers and data scientists to responsibly implement these systems and to be the voice for the model in terms of its capabilities, its measured and responsible use.